Virat is a huge thing in India.
How crazy people are for Virat Kohli.
You're finalist for the Champions Trophy.
India and South Africa. Well, firstly, I think playing at Chinnaswamy is very difficult. Mixed emotions, but great memories. Everywhere you go, it's like up there, like everywhere.
They haven't even lifted single cup.
In India, there are a lot of poor people. Sab Bataiga Abhi in Champions Trophy.
So, welcome to Mirchi's podcast. Let me just take you back to 2008, when you were the captain of South Africa playing against India, right? Under 19 World Cup. You remember that?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, some mixed emotions, but great memories all the way through.
Exactly. So, why I'm taking you there is that India was captained by Virat Kohli at that time, right? So, you have played with him in under 19. Tell me, what is the difference between the under 19 Virat Kohli and today's Virat Kohli that you certainly have played in 2023 with RCB as well?
Yeah, honestly, I think Virat is a guy that not many people get to know on a personal level, and on a very intimate level. I think obviously what you've seen on TV and the way he plays and the passion that he brings and the energy, I think millions and millions of people know that. But there are few people that are lucky enough to have spent time with him on a one-on-one basis. And I think I've been very lucky in terms of, I met him at the age of 18. So South Africa, Bangladesh, and India played a tri-series in 2007, just before the World Cup. So all of us spent a lot of time there. Um, and then to obviously see him, going to international cricket, we've played against each other, India versus South Africa. We've always interacted. He's always been a really nice guy. And then, lucky enough to obviously play for RCB as well, and to see him in a completely different light as well, with the IPL. Obviously, I have played against him in the IPL, but to actually be on the same team, and to actually get to see firsthand how crazy people are for Virat Kohli. You obviously know that it is like that, but
But
to actually experience it in every single city around India was just phenomenal, honestly.
what was your first experience when you got to know that, okay, Virat is a huge thing in India? Any experience that you got to go?
No, so I think the first time you kind of, I mean, playing against him on the 90 level, I always knew that he was going to be a superstar. I think even at that age level, he was really, really good. So you always knew that, this guy's going to kick on to go play international cricket. To end up with a career that he's had, I think I wouldn't say I'm surprised at all. I think he was from that young, tender age, a very competitive, fiery character on the field. But yet again, off the field, a very fair and reasonable guy. And I think that's probably the one thing that a lot of people don't get to see. And to obviously see how he's gone and, in my opinion, probably one of the best ODI batters, especially in a run chase.
Right.
I just loved watching him bat and still do obviously. Especially when India used to chase big totals. I just knew this guy's gonna get 100 here today and he's gonna take his team over the line.
Mm. So you played in RCB as well. So tell me, how's the dressing room culture in RCB?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, obviously, Faf is someone that captained me at South African level. Someone that I know really well, respect so much. So when he basically reached out and said, "Listen, there might be an injury, and we're looking at you," I mean, it was like, of course. I mean, and then to actually get there, and also again spending time with Glenn Maxwell, a guy who I've only played against, to see a completely different side of him as well is really really nice. Uh, Josh Hazelwood was there as well. Again, only someone that I've played against. And I think that's the beauty of sport, and especially cricket and league cricket, is the fact that, being international opposition, you actually get to be teammates in some of the like teams, which is something that maybe a lot of other sports don't really have that much of. But just to interact with them was obviously really, really nice. But then some of the Indian boys as well. Obviously, Siddharth Kaur, I played against him in that same under-19 team.
Okay.
So to see him, I mean, we've been in touch throughout, even from those under-19 days. To be with him, to obviously spend time with Mohammad Siraj, a guy who I've admired from afar, and to actually spend time with him to, find out that he's a bit of a jokester. Obviously a seriously good bowler, but off the field, just a nice character. And then Karan Sharma as well, younger guys as well. Suyesh, Maipal as well.
Mhm.
Uh, and Anush, spending time in there is great. And just to kind of put myself amongst that is always special. And to do it, especially after having not played in IPL, I think the last time I played was like in 2014 or something like that. So to play after all these years was really, really good. And to be with such a popular franchise as well.
Okay. And do you recall any funny incident from the RCB days on the pitch or off the pitch?
You actually put me on the spot now, but I wouldn't really say like any funny things I can think of. I think like post games. So obviously the Gambia Kohli type of, I don't know if you want to call it a feud or whatever it was. I think that was a bit interesting. And then obviously when we beat them in Lucknow, I think there was a big celebration.
Mhm.
But it was nice to obviously see them after the IPL, them kind of making up because again, two huge Indian superstars. But I think also the match in Hyderabad where Virat got 100.
Mhm.
So I think there might be a picture or a video, or actually both on my Instagram of myself, Virat, and I think either Mohammad Siraj or Karan Sharma doing this Ronaldo celebration. And then there's a video of myself and Virat doing that, that like Ronaldo thing as well. But I think funny things, obviously normal, natural funny things that happen, people forgetting certain things or people not wearing the right stuff or like flights or that type of stuff. But nothing that really stands out. But I think just generally a really fun experience. And I think being older as well, I really, really enjoyed it. And I had so much fun. And I must say that it was probably the best cricketing experience that I've had. Those like while I was there for like 7 weeks or so. And Bangalore as a city, unbelievable.
Okay. So now let's talk about RCB as well. Like, it's a good team. You've played for them as well. They had some really cool superstars like Chris Gale, AB de Villiers, you, Virat Kohli, Glenn Maxwell, Josh Hazelwood, you name it, and they have it. But still, they haven't even lifted single cup. What do you think went wrong or goes wrong in their process that they reached playoff, they reached finals, but they just couldn't get the trophy.
It's very difficult, and it's probably the one team that everyone wants to win. Whether you play for them, whether you play against them, I think everyone wants them to just win it once. Because the fan base is so crazy. I promise you, like I said, that time that I spent in Bangalore, the fans everywhere you go it's like up there, like everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. So it's just unbelievable. And even post that as well, wherever I've gone in the world, there's always RCB fans somewhere.
Mhm.
But to answer your question, I don't really know well, firstly, I think playing at Chinnaswamy is very difficult.
Mhm.
So for you to have the right team, it's always going to be tricky because half of your games are there. And it's such a high scoring game. You can score 250 and still lose the game. Um, so I think playing there is obviously very difficult. But also, I'm not sure the RCB kind of structure. I mean, I know the team is owned by a business, who don't really have a lot to do with cricket.
Right.
So that could also play a part that, the commercial side of it is maybe a bit more important than the actual cricket part. If you look at all the other franchises, most of them have teams in different countries. So cricket is always at the like forefront of, or would you call it their like core business? Maybe for RCB, it's not. I mean, obviously they would want to win it, but they've obviously made some big changes now where Andy Flowers obviously come on board as head coach. So, you could potentially see in the next couple of years a shift towards probably more on the like cricket side, because it kind of almost feels that like, RCB basically only exists for like a couple of months of the year, and then for the rest of the year, it like kind of shuts down. So that could maybe be one factor, but at the end of the day, to win the IPL, you have to play really well. It's such a tough tournament. And they have had really good teams from season one,
Right.
but unfortunately, just haven't been able to obviously get that. And I think it would be a nice thing for Virat to obviously finish his career with at least one trophy in the IPL.
Right. So let's now fly from India to South Africa. So tell me what's going on with the South Africa 20 League. Are you playing or not? Because I just read the article that you're opted out.
Yeah, so obviously I was involved in the first two seasons. I went for surgery on my shoulder last year, and obviously it was a race to get ready. I felt I was making good progress. I had some discussions with the team management, um, and I think it kind of got to a point where we, you know, try to settle a thing where, and for me, it was always what is in the best interest of the actual team. I felt I could contribute. They felt it was maybe a bit of a risk for me to obviously come back after such a long layoff. And then again, we just, as adults, you make a decision whether you agree on it or not. That's always going to be up for debate. But at the end of the day, I think for me, ultimately, the franchise of Pretoria Capital is always going to be the most important um, sort of part in this decision making, because being captain from the first season, and I almost feel like it is a little bit my sort of team. Um, so yeah, it obviously didn't work out, which is unfortunate. And then sitting on the side and watching the guys play, and obviously the season didn't go according to plan. That probably hurt me a little bit more as well. But it's professional sport, and you kind of move on, and just hope for the best in the future.
Mhm. So let me know that how is this South Africa 20 League is helping the national cricket team as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a great league. I think again also we've had every single Protea player available to play, and I think that's what's made it really really strong. Similar to the IPL, where every single Indian player is available. So when you mix all of the Proteas international guys, the foreigners, plus the domestic talent, you mix that all together. The wickets in South Africa are generally really good. It's a great time of the year to also play. Stadiums are packed out, crowds are good. It's just a really good product. And to see it be so successful in only year three, and from the first edition, it was really really popular, and it's something that's people talk about throughout the year. Whenever I bump into people, when I bump into kids, people talk about it throughout, and I think that shows that even after three seasons, it's become a very very popular product.
Mm. So I just want to know one more thing from you about this league as well. That it's going great. A lot of players are playing. Who do you think are the next superstars coming out of from South Africa? Like in the past, we had you, Sean Pollock, Jack Callis, Dale Steyn, ABD certainly. Who are the next upcoming superstars for the South African cricket?
Yeah, so I mean, one name probably jumps out from this season. Lewandre Pretorius, young left-handed batter from Paul Royal. I think he's obviously done really well. He did well at the Under-19 World Cup last year as well. So he's probably someone that people have watched. But to see him do really well in this format at this level as well is quite good. I think obviously Dewald Brevis has played a bit now. I think it's nice to see him actually doing well again this season. But I think what's even better is that it actually looks like he's enjoying his cricket again. He's playing with a smile on his face, and I think that's really important. Young Kwena Mapaka, the left arm seamer, I think he's definitely going to be a superstar. Obviously, left arm can bowl at 140 plus. Very exciting. I think obviously it's just about molding it and trying to get the best out of him. And I think other guys who are already on the international circuit who are still, in my opinion, very young. I look at Marco Jansen, I look at Tristan Stubb. Um, those two kind of stand out really from a sort of youngsters point of view that have played already. And then some unknown guys, well, not really unknown, but Matthew Brzezinski, I really like the way that he plays. He's played a couple of games for South Africa. There's a young all-rounder, Andile Simelane. He's also someone that people should be looking out for in the next couple of years. And then there are other guys that who potentially I think would come through in the next couple of years as well. So I think the sort of talent pool in South Africa is really healthy, and I think that's what SA20's main objective is to obviously provide the national team with the best possible players. And I think what's also great is that these youngsters are able to rub shoulders with some of the best foreigners. I mean, for Luandre Pretorius this season, he had Joe Root there. I mean, that's one of the greatest test players, and just having that experience and knowledge and to tap into that. DK was also there, Dinesh Karthik, he was also there this season. So to be able to, not necessarily talk about my cover drive or my full shot, but the ins and outs of playing international cricket, the pressures of playing in the World Cups, the pressures of playing in the IPL, these sort of things, how to handle it. I think those things are more valuable than someone telling you, "Oh, you have a nice cover drive," or things like that.
Mhm. So tell me that did you watch the recent India versus Australia series?
Yes, I did actually. Obviously, the time difference in Australia and South Africa is like I think between 7 and 9 hours. So it was difficult to watch all of it live. But in the mornings, I used to watch the last bit of the test matches each day, and then I just catch up on like highlights.
Mhm.
I think it was obviously a really really good series. I would have, I was a bit disappointed by the Indian batting. If I'm honest, I think obviously some guys who you expected to kind of score runs probably didn't score the amount of runs that they would have liked, and I think that the whole of India would have liked as well. But I think it was still a really really good series. At this moment in time, I think Australia are such a powerhouse test playing team. I think they're so consistent with the selection as well. They have like 12 or 13 players that are like kind of nailed down, and to break in from outside is very very difficult. So I think that shows it in itself that the sort of strength that they have right now is probably at its highest. And probably if you go back to those teams of like Ponting and Ward and McGrath and those teams where it was also like 11, 12 guys playing consistently. I think India's probably not in a transition phase as well, but obviously a new coach coming in as well. He might have different ideas from the previous coaches. So you'll have to give it time to obviously see which direction he wants to go in. But I think it was all in all a really really good series.
Okay. So you mentioned about this new team of Australia, and you also mentioned about Ricky Ponting. So what my observation is that earlier it was Ricky Ponting who was like the ruthless, absolute phenomenon captain from the Australian side. But this time, I believe that at this age, Pat Cummins is that new era captain who is dominating every format. What do you think makes Pat Cummins so special about his captaincy, about his playing style?
Oh, I think firstly is he has some really good people around him. I think he's got firstly a really good group of players. I think also from a management point of view, I was lucky enough to work with Andrew McDonald for a short period of time when I was over in the UK, and just hearing him speak and all that type of stuff. I think he will bring a lot of calmness to the group. Um, and I think that's probably what they need at this particular point in time. Obviously, before that, when Justin Langer was there, he was a completely different style. And maybe because there was a mix of younger and the kind of older guys, that's probably what they needed then. But I think now that whole group of guys are in kind of the last bit of their career. You kind of need a bit more of a calmness and kind of just more facilitating as opposed to actually coaching. And I think maybe that's the balance between McDonald and Cummings now that is probably perfect. I think also if you look back, I think Ponting and what was the guy's name? Buchanan. So Buchanan and Ponting, I think like in that era there was probably a similar thing where kind of Ponting was driving everything and Buchanan was probably like facilitating and making sure if there's certain parts that need to move around, that happens. So I think it's always a like combination between captain and coach. And I think maybe what happens off the field allows Pat to do his thing on the field. And again, being surrounded by some really, really talented players makes a big difference, and some very experienced guys as well. To also bounce ideas off of.
So just after the series, and also before that, we were whitewashed by New Zealand in our home. So just after these two test series for India, suddenly the superstars from India like Virat Kohli and even Rohit Sharma and several other players have come to the domestic cricket. Is it like a natural thing for the South African cricket that the South African superstar players, whether it's ABD or Jack Ellis or other players, were consistently playing the domestic cricket, or was it obviously like they were playing domestic cricket like after 4 years or 5 years?
I think it varies from player to player. I don't remember playing against Jacques Kallis when I started in domestic cricket, in red ball cricket. In white ball cricket, yes. So he played some 50 and I was lucky enough to actually play with him as well. Some 50 over stuff and some T20 stuff. But a lot of guys, when South Africa weren't playing, played domestic cricket. I think now maybe with like all the leagues around as well, and guys actually needing some rest, it might have changed now, and probably less guys play, or less guys need to play to get ready for a series. But if you look at India, I mean, India plays a lot of white ball cricket, probably more than most countries. So from that perspective, player fatigue can take place. They also probably play, between India, England, and probably Australia. Those are probably the three teams that play the most test cricket as well. So if you're a player that plays all three formats, you are going to need it. And then add in the IPL as well. You are going to need some time to have a break. And that's probably why you haven't seen guys play a lot of domestic cricket. Yes, from a domestic point of view, you want those guys playing because it's great for the youngsters to interact with them. But you also have to understand the pressures of international cricket and how tough it is touring and being away for 8 weeks or 10 weeks. It takes a toll on you. I think maybe the BCCI has put out a mandate to say that when there's gaps, guys have to play domestic cricket. I think obviously that'll be good, but only if it's done in the right way, where the actual players want to also play. I think the worst thing is when you've just played a long international series and then you have to come back and fly somewhere to go play in a domestic game. Not to say that it's right or wrong. It's just, coming from that international high to suddenly a bit lower where, there's no crowd, there's no atmosphere, there's no vibes. But, I think it's only going to be good to have these superstars on the field with the youngsters and them being able to see firsthand how Virat Kohli prepares for Ranji Trophy match, how Rohit Sharma prepares for a Ranji Trophy match. But also, like, most teams are lucky enough to have one or two Indian internationals anyway. So it's you have to keep learning from these guys, but to have them playing domestic cricket is obviously really, really good.
So I've seen you playing from like my school days, and I always loved your slower ones, cutters, and really good left arm pacer coming from South Africa. And I honestly tell you, when you especially came into the death overs, I always thought that okay, now we're not going to the highest score. So the fond memory that
Thanks.
I have, so the fond memory that I have Wayne Parnell is of 2011 series, India touring South Africa, second ODI. Do you remember that ODI? And I believe
Yeah.
just like 1 run needed or 2 run needed, probably. And
Yeah. Two runs did it.
yeah,
Yeah.
2 runs needed, and Munaf Patel got you. And before you, I guess
I can remember that game now. And that
right,
was, 14 years ago.
exactly. So that's a fond memory of you.
Yeah, it was at the Wonders. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me what was going in your mind, because it was an easy target. A lot of balls were there, and you could have played really easy
Yeah.
all the batsmen. What was going in your mind? Do you think that captaincy worked, the field placement from Dhoni worked there?
I just, at the Wanderers, obviously back then there's always a little bit extra bounce. So like, if Munaf Patel bowls that ball to me again, probably 100 times, I think every single time I'm actually hitting it and like getting the runs. But just on a particular surface, like just a little bit of extra bounce, and because he's not the quickest guy,
Right.
it actually has time to kind of sit in the wicket a bit and just rise up, and then I kind of just tip it to I think Yuvraj at point.
Right.
And I saw Munaf like straight after the because I think after that it was IPL if I'm not mistaken, and every time we see each other we still laugh about that as well.
So what was going in your mind? Because I saw you really disappointed, like with the guard in your mouth, and you were like, "Oh my God, what was happening here?"
Yeah, I think it like I said, I think it's just one of those moments where I actually can't believe it because like I said, I saw it and it's like, okay, cool, it's in my area to hit, and then suddenly like, oh, you're out, and it's like, and being so like close as well. So I think probably disappointment, but at the end of the day, I think you still have to back yourself, and if the ball is in your area, you have to go for it. If you miss it, sometimes you miss it.
Right.
Obviously, that was one of those days where I ended up missing it.
So you played with Dhoni as well. Why you think that he's one of the best, finest captains from India for the world, even?
I think he's probably one of the best captains, period. Uh, every single person that I've spoken to who's either played, in CSK or play for India, they all say the same thing. I think, and the one thing that really stands out is that they all say that he just brings a lot of calmness and he makes people believe that, they can climb up mountains, they can run through walls, they can swim across oceans. I think when your leader can do that for a group of people, I think you're always going to have success. And I think CSK has shown that since the first season of IPL, they've had success, whether it's winning or getting close to winning or playing in playoffs. They've probably been one of the most consistent teams, and Dhoni's been at the forefront of all of that. So that's probably the one trait that really stands out. And I think he will go down as probably one of the best captains in the history of the game.
So as we were talking earlier in our interview that about RCB, that they were always so close to the trophy and couldn't get it. It has always been the story of the South African cricket as well. That you were always so near to the trophy. Like recently for the T20 World Cup, you were in the finals. David Miller was going really on song. It was like ball to ball storyline, but still couldn't get the trophy. Why are you saying that South Africa always misses out on those opportunities?
That's a great question, actually, and it's something that all of us are still trying to figure out. I think once we figure it out, we'll start winning. um, but I think it's a combination of, if you go back to the 2003 World Cup, obviously the rain, and then them not calculating the Duckworth Lewis end up losing in 1999. Obviously the run out um, with Klusener and Donald. You look at uh, 2011, we lose to New Zealand again. Like, and if you actually watch the highlights back, like just some weird dismissals, guys getting caught, like edging the ball onto their foot, getting caught,
Right.
run outs, these sort of things. 2015 again, McCullum played a great knock, and obviously Grant Ellen finishes it off. Even this last T20 World Cup as well, Sky takes a really great catch on
Hung
the
off.
fence
Right.
to obviously change the game. You know what I'm saying? So these sort of things do happen, and you can look at it and say, "Oh yeah, ABC or whatever." But at the end of the day, you are playing against an opposition, and you probably want to win as much as what you do. So sometimes things happen, and it's out of your control. But I feel like the South African team has become a bit more consistent in terms of playing in knockout games. I think previously we probably just outside knockout cricket now, but if you look at the last probably what three or four ICC events, we've been either in the semi-finals or finals. So I think that is a good start. Uh, where we kind of want to be, and just creating that culture of always getting into these sort of knockout spaces and playing in these high pressure games. I think that's going to bode well for the next group of guys. So hopefully the Janssens and the Stubbs of these worlds can take us over the line in time to come.
Right. You used to be a death bowler specialist. So, what was your favorite pick in the death bowling? Like the Yorker or bowling really outside of the stump or some slower cutters?
I think definitely like straight at the stumps. I think there's no better feeling than bowling a Yorker and actually beating the guy and knocking over the stumps. I think these days the wide Yorkers and the change ups have like come into the game a bit more, but I think they're like old school. I mean that's how I grew up watching Zahir Khan, Ashish Mehra, even Waka Yunus, Wazim Akram, guys just destroying stumps. And I think that's something that for me as a kid growing up, that's something that I also wanted to do. And death bowling is something that I've really enjoyed throughout my entire career. Even as a kid, we used to play in the streets and I used to always like try and just bowl Yorkies. So to actually be able to do it at an international level and at a franchise level across the world is something really, really cool. And I always encourage guys, yes, we've got to work. Some days you might have to bowl the wide one or whatever, but to be consistent with a Yorker is firstly something that you want to do because it's a difficult time of the game. Guys are trying to smash you all over. Um, so to make sure that you are that guy that a captain can throw you the ball and say, hey, listen, just bowl Yorkers there and then be able to execute that as well.
Right. And do you think that so many leagues going around the world, whether it's South Africa, cricket, do you think that when the youngsters are exposed to these leagues and they try some unorthodox shots, whether it's in batting or they try some more experiments in the bowling, does that have an effect on their test match ability as well?
Yeah, definitely because the formats are so different. So Test cricket and um, T20 cricket, it's completely different skill set needed. So with Test cricket, you have to be very consistent the whole day.
Mm.
If you're bowling, even batting as well, in terms of being consistent with choosing which balls to play, choosing which balls to leave, choosing which balls to attack, which to defend. Whereas with T20 cricket, the name of the game is to come after the opposition. So when you're bowling, you need to get guys out. When you're batting, you need to score runs and score really quickly. So there's a different skill set required. But on the flip side of that, you can also see how T20 cricket has helped Test cricket to a certain extent, where if guys need to bat at 4 or 5 runs and over, they are able to do that because they have the skill set to actually execute more shots as opposed to blocking it all day or blocking it for one session. So I think there are some good things in the crossover, but there are also some bad things where guys are playing a lot of shots and you see a lot of like lower scores as well. But
Right.
I think ultimately it'll vary from player to player.
Mhm. So, in the end, we'll wrap it up with a quick rapid fire if you're ready for that.
So, yes, of course.
All right.
Let's
First,
go.
Virat or Rohit, better batsman.
Virat.
All right. Bumrah or Stark, better bowler.
Bumrah.
All right. Pat Cummins or Tamba Bavuma, better captain.
I think just based on the thing that is one, I'm gonna have to go with Pat. But Temba's a really good captain as well.
All right. Your favorite IPL team.
Oh, I think having played for RCB, definitely it's such a good team. But if I just had to choose a team as a fan, I like KKR because of the uniform.
Oh, great.
Yeah, they have a really good uniform.
So, your favorite place to visit in India,
Mumbai.
right? Your finalist for the Champions Trophy.
A finalist for the Champions Trophy. I'm gonna say, how about India and South Africa?
Oh,
I think that's a
great.
good.
But will that be just like the T20 World Cup?
No, I think this time will be a different outcome.
All right. So, T20 World Cup, World Test Championship, or the ODI World Cup? Which are you most excited about?
I think whichever one South Africa wins.
That's a good one. That's a good.
So if it is the WTC in June, then definitely that one. But I would just love for this team to just win something because they've obviously played really well over the last couple of years.
Right. Toughest batsman to bowl.
Oh yeah, there's a lot, but I'm gonna say in Test cricket it was Tendulkar. I say 50 over cricket it was Virender Sehwag, and I say T20 cricket it was Chris Gale.
Okay. Toughest bowler faced to.
I mean, I didn't face many bowlers, but I think the fastest guy I faced was Sean Tate. I faced him in the IPL. That was scary. It was very scary.
Okay. I guess I know the answer of the next question, but still, your favorite football club.
Manchester United,
Ah,
definitely.
all right. Surya or ABD? Which one has got more ability for the 360-degree shots?
Sorry, can you I just missed the first bit of my question.
Like Surya Kumar Yadav, Sky, or ABD?
Yeah,
Who's got
yes.
more ability to hit the 360-degree shots?
Well, I think AB was the guy that kind of pushed it forward a lot, but I think the variety of shots that Sky has is crazy. Like I've seen him play some shots, and I think myself like, how is it possible that he's hit a six in that area there of that type of ball?
Hmm.
So I think I'm gonna have to go with Sky.
Okay. And in the end, I believe you're a big football fan, right?
Massive.
All right. Tell me Ronaldo or Messi.
For me, definitely.
All right. We got the answer with Ronaldo, right? So thank you.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining
Oh,
us. This was really
thank you guys
helpful.
for having me.
This was really awesome to chat with you. And we hope that this time Proteas win if we are not in the finals.
Let's go. Let's go.
And in the end, Wayne, I would just request you to just
Well,
say Sub Batayega Abby in Champions Trophy.
stop. Stop.
Sub
But what?
Batayega
Yeah. Betaiga.
Abby
Abby.
in
Okay.
Champions Trophy.
Stop. But is it Batega?
Batayega.
Bataiga. Sub Bataiga Abby in Champions Trophy.
Thank you so much, Wayne. Thank you so much. That was awesome.
Oh, thank you so much.